Hiya, my name's Shanika Knight, and in this video I'm going to go through my best books from 2018. So 2018 was a pretty good reading year for me. I read 45 books and some were very good, some weren't so good, but in this video I'm just going to show you the ones which I particularly enjoyed. So I'm going to first start with Persepolis. I'm not sure if you've heard about this book, but it was recommended to me by my best friend. It's a graphic novel and it's actually been made into an animated movie, which is fantastic. So it follows the life of Marjane, whose families were the emperor, or was it the Shah of Iraq, and one of her uncles went on to actually create Azerbaijan. So it goes through when her family falls and the rise of the Khomeini and her living as a refugee by herself in Europe before returning to Iraq, and it's just a fantastic book. I would definitely recommend. The next book would be Homo Deus by Yuval Noah Harari. It was actually the first book that I read last year, and it's non-fiction and it's a fantastic read. It's actually a follow-up to his Sapiens, which I have over here. Sapiens. If you haven't read this book, it's another one that I would highly recommend. But this was the one I actually read in 2018, the follow-up, and it's been recommended by everyone. Yuval Noah is a fantastic writer. He sort of talks about where humanity is likely to go in the future, from bio people being like, oh, it's fantastic. Just give it a read. Another book, Sociology, since I am a sociologist, The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Fantastic book. What can I say? So it wasn't the easiest read, even though it is shorter than some of the other books that I've shown you. However, this book is going to be so valuable to me throughout life. I can now engage in political discussions, so I would definitely recommend some Karl Marx to you, and I just understand his theory so much better now. I just feel so much more intelligent, and what a book's for, eh? So the next book, Russian Literature, Leo Tolstoy, Anna Karenina. Gigantic book, and honestly I adored it, and it is one that I would recommend to every single person in the whole wide world. It even comes up in a series of unfortunate events, and it was just so good. I feel like everybody can sort of relate to a different person in the book. So for me, I related to Karenin sometimes, and then Nicholas, who if you've read the book you probably shouldn't be relating to him, but I just wasn't expecting the book to actually be so good. It's definitely one that I would give to a lot of people to read. So don't be scared by how thick it is. It would actually, I would say it would be easier than the Communist Manifesto. So just don't judge a book by its pages. Another book, Feminism, Ain't I a Woman by Bell Hooks. Fantastic book. When I was an undergraduate, I was always really scared to actually read Bell Hooks. It's like the couple of articles that I'd been given by lecturers were just a bit too daunting. I couldn't necessarily follow her so well. And then when I read this book, it was ultra easy, ultra simple, ultra engaging, and just relatable text. And I was actually quite surprised because I'd been shying away from the book because I was like, oh, she's so difficult. And no, in this book, she was fantastic. So thank you, Bell Hooks, and I would definitely recommend that for those who are looking to get more into understanding sociology and Black women and feminism in particular. So next book, Eichmann and the Holocaust, which is part of the Penguin Great Ideas series. Fantastic book. So once again, the Penguin Great Ideas series is one that I absolutely love. However, I shy away from so many of the books because I'm always so scared that they will be quite difficult. However, Eichmann and the Holocaust was just such an easy read, and it's so engaging that most people just wouldn't really struggle to pull it down. It's only less than 140 pages, so it's a bite-sized book, but the ideas are just so quality on the Jewish state and on the Jewish police under the time of the Nazis, on the rise of Adolf Eichmann from an apprentice doing the Jewish question to him rising up to being one of the more influential men next to Hitler. So it's very interesting, even when you consider that Adolf Eichmann wasn't captured till 20 years after the end of the Second World War. So it reminds you that certain warlords just didn't actually, engage with the justice system for a very long time, and I recommend. Another book that I wasn't expecting to like was The Hobbit. I didn't actually read like the Middle Earth series as a child, although my sister did, and that may have been a reason why I shied away from it. But I did read many other fantasy sort of series. But then when I read this year, I was just so blown away. The Tolkien Society made it this year that they were going to focus on what is it like to be a hobbit. So I wanted to engage with some of their essays. So The Hobbit was just obviously right up my street. And I'll be honest, like I was blown away. It was fantastic. Um, I just loved the simplicity of it. This book was illustrated as well. Like I just opened it and there was a picture. If I could find one, I'll show you. But just really, really, really nice. Um, I would highly recommend getting yourself a beautiful copy of this. And it was just a breath of fresh air, if I'm honest, because I read such heavy theoretical books that sometimes it can be nice to go back to childhood. And J.R.R. Tolkien is, once again, an academic. So I loved looking at how easy it was for him to build great kingdoms. So the next book, an American novel, The Great Gatsby, my first ever book by Fitzgerald, and yeah, I really, really liked it. I didn't think I was going to really like it because the movie I now know is quite misleading. The storyline in the book I find is just a lot better. Yeah, it's fast paced, but I feel like it can still weave into morality and how it feels to be part of the new rich and that sort of things quite easily. So I actually did really enjoy F. Scott Fitzgerald, and I would definitely want to engage with him in the future. One thing I'd probably say is that maybe I'd shy away from his shorter stories because I did want a bit more than what this book gave. As you can see, it's so small, and like I read it really, really quickly. That wasn't very fulfilling. A graphic novel, Mouse, Art Spiegel. So another great book. It focuses on the life of a Jewish man as he grows up in Poland and he becomes a great businessman, and then the rise of Nazism, and then being deported, and then trying to escape from Poland and ending up in Auschwitz, and him and his wife moving to America. And I'm really simplifying the story because there's so much extra heartbreak along the way that I just won't give away. It really hurts you. Gosh, it broke my heart, and I feel like it just gets worse and worse as the story goes on. You sort of assume that the tragedies of Nazism and the Holocaust were sort of experienced in magnitude at the time, sort of in the concentration camps. However, books like this sort of remind you that it's actually the experiencing afterwards that can be a living hell. So I really did enjoy this book and I'd recommend it to all, especially because graphic novels rarely deserve the time of day. Lord of the Flies, a little school book, and honestly, I adore this book. It was a nice breath of fresh air again, and nice also to remind you that human nature should really be examined from a multitude of perspectives. I really like to view children as susceptible to animalism and primal behavior, but then it also reminds you that even as adults, we shouldn't overestimate our ability to control ourselves. So really liked reading it, and I know it's quite a simple book, but it was one of my favorite books of 2018. Another graphic novel. So it's quite funny. I actually ordered V for Vendetta, but I didn't know that it was a graphic novel. So when it came, it took me by quite surprise. But that was no issue because I still finished it really, really, really quickly. And I read it around the 5th of November as well, because obviously Bonfire Night, or basically Guy Fawkes Night in the UK, is really popular. So I was just spamming my Instagram with loads of Guy Fawkes stuff. So it was a lovely time, I would say. Just beautiful pictures. I really, really enjoyed it. And I feel like anybody who actually does read it would also really enjoy it. So give it a try. And then my final favorite book of 2018 was The Blood of Emmett Till. So it's a historical book on the death of a 14-year-old boy at the hands of a group of men after it was alleged that he wolf whistled at a white woman in the South of America. And obviously the killing was quite brutal. Eyes were removed, tongues, lynched with like barbed wire, and nobody actually faced any sort of justice for this crime. So I read the book, and honestly, I assumed it was going to be quite gruesome, quite dull, because of like the aspects and the topic it's talking about. And you know, you have to be respectful in these cases, especially since the white woman has come out now to say that the allegations she made were false. So a young boy was killed for no reason and nobody faced trial. This book really goes into it really well. Such a sensitive topic, and it's covered fantastically. I know so much more now about the culture of the South and the situation that young boy was walking into, and I would recommend this to everybody. So those are my favorite books of 2018, and obviously I just rounded them up really quickly. Let me know if you'd like any other like more in-depth reviews, and please do recommend other books to me down below. I will have my Goodreads, my Instagram, and my Facebook where you can contact me, and I really hope you've liked this video. Bye!